Hello. How's it going? I know, I'm between you guys and drinks, so everybody's like, get off the stage. Well, join me on a tale as dramatic as my blazer in this picture. 4 billion years ago, life appeared on this planet. And about 3.5 billion years after that, whatever the hell this is showed up. All kind of weird fish things. Fast forward a little bit more, and dinosaurs. For 165 million years, dinosaurs existed on this earth and chased down Ian Malcolm, I think. Right after that, we had our first humanoid ancestors appear on this earth 6 million years ago. We are related by beard. But then a strange thing happened about 200,000 years ago. The modern person appeared on the earth. It's been a long time from single-celled weird thing to Cardi B. But then, we jump another couple of years. I don't do math, I'm a designer. Colonies started to come together, right? Things started to happen and people settled and it was some agriculture and people were like, I need a roof. And then it started getting crazy. Then we started making all kind of stuff. And then we were like, boom. And then a crazy thing happened. Somebody was like, what if we could just fly like birds? F it. Boom. From bicycles to planes. And then we decided this is not good enough transportation. Then we went, boom. But what was weird was that happened super fast in the greater context, right? Like from kind of just like 14,000 years, we were like, I don't know, roof. To like, I'm gonna fly wherever. To Elon Musk is going, I don't know, I'm gonna buy everything until I can get to Mars. In the 60s, something else interesting happened. The very first prototype for the internet happened. We are one of the most successful species on Earth. 7.2 billion of us, and half of us are connected. I'm going to say something very controversial because nobody ever says this. I think nature is shockingly inefficient. Everybody's like, nature is the best creator ever. It takes 100 million years to make a big-ass rock. I just went through a 4.1 billion year history of like, I don't know, maybe that works. For 3.5 billion years, it was a single-celled organism. And they were like, I don't know, dog. And the next best thing was a weird-ass fish. Now, we can make 57-story buildings in 19 days. Now, I'm not getting in that building. And so I want to talk about something really, 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 really interesting. Because I am out here taking shots at nature. What informs design? One day, you were but a wee lad, and you were scribbling something on something. And someone told you you're going to be poor forever. But then they said, maybe you could be a designer. What informs design? We are a collection of our experiences, thoughts, and actions. We're almost nothing else. The things that we've experienced, the things that we think, and the things that we act upon the world, that's who we are. Everything we've experienced growing up informs how we see the world. It influences our perspective. It influences how we see things. I think humans, over most creatures, have a superpower. It is designing with intent. The iterative process of evolution and the iterative process of design is very similar. The difference is that humans get to strategize a little bit better. Now, that's not saying that there are not some animals who use tools. Beavers have dams, chimpanzees can eat ants by taking a stick, putting it in the earth. That stuff is fantastic. But like, they don't have iPads. Goats had to adapt to the mountain ledges. Because what happened to all the goats that can't stand on the side of the mountain? They did. They did goats. Them is not the goats of goats. These is the goats of goats. They have not designed anything to make their lives better. They themselves have been molded into their environment. You know what humans do when they run into mountains? We go through or over them. We build things on the mountains. You go to San Francisco, you go to LA, and there's just houses built into the side of mountains looking incredibly scary. I will never visit a rapper. I want to have a conversation about what was going on with those single-celled organisms and why were they around for so long? Why did it take 3.5 billion years for something to become a weird-ass fish monster? And then from the weird fish monster to every single thing you see before us. Well, my friends, that is the miracle of sex. Sex allows for genetic variance. Genetic variance is the pinnacle of evolution. It is the catalyst for evolution. It is the thing that makes diversity possible. And so this is why I think this creates an opportunity. It's a thought process, which is serendipitous collision, which is also what I'll be calling sex from this point forward. This opportunity for things to happen and go wrong, but then go incredibly, incredibly right. You are a problem solver. That's your job. It's not to doodle and make things green. It's to solve very human problems. My favorite thing about design is everything that's ever been designed by humans, up until pretty recently, has been to the benefit of humans. They were all problems first, followed by solutions. I keep eating food. It is poisoning me. Boom, refrigerator. You guys forgot that's what refrigerators were for, right? You were like, no, it has an iPad on the front of it so it can tell me when to order my food. No. Refrigerators are to stop you from getting food poisoning. And so, all of these things that we do are to solve these problems. But we have another problem. Perspective. How do you solve problems that you don't know exist when you have not had the experience of certain people to see those problems? This is my appeal for diversity of thought, diversity of people, diversity of background. Why do you want to role play somebody when you could just hire that person? Why do you have a company with all men doing focus groups of women? Hire the women. But somebody told us that everyone is the same. That being colorblind and not seeing differences is an answer. Colorblindness is absolutely violence. And this is why. Because you're crushing someone's identity to make yourself comfortable. Telling someone that they're just like you is to negate their entire history. Because you don't want to deal with learning something new. But the thing that's interesting about language is that there are words in some languages that describe feelings that we don't have in other languages. And so you cannot go learn a word without learning the context and history of the word. That is my appeal. To think about creating opportunities for diversity in the same way that evolution uses variance to create incredible opportunities, but with the unique human edge of being able to strategize, of being able to think about what the variances mean. I think that is incredible. I'm incredibly optimistic about what humans have and what happens when there is not enough variance. Well, nature shows us that it's incredibly dangerous to have genetic mutations that come that you can't stop. It makes you weaker. It combines weaknesses. It's basically like sleeping with your sister, and that is icky. To look around an office and everyone look the same and sound the same, cultural fit is a con because it's an excuse to hire the same person in different colors. Homogeneous thought is insidious. Now, I'm not making a political statement with this. I'll make that later. This picture was so funny to me. Like, this is on whitehouse.gov. This is the internship program. Donald Trump is there in the middle. He's hard to see because it's hard to pick anyone out of this picture. The problem with homogeneous thought is that it leads to illness in the same way that lack of genetic variance leads to proliferation of disease. What are ideological illnesses? Bias, groupthink, racism. When we put people into boxes, we have what I call the data dilemma. Because this is what happens when I start bringing up these topics. They say, well, Eric, the data says. People love to use data, especially you smart guys. There's a couple guys in here with glasses, probably creative directors. You guys like data. Here's the thing about data. Data is and always will be, if processed by people, filtered through the perspective of a human being. And then you'll say, but what about algorithms? I heard somebody say, algorithms are just programmed to bias. Algorithms just do what you tell them to do. And so when people start talking about red states and blue states, it's a wasted argument. It's a ridiculous time you're having. Why? Because we don't have red states and blue states. It's way more gradated than that. We have people who feel certain ways closer to densely populated areas, and we have people who feel certain ways because they have homogeneous communities. Homogeneous communities appear everywhere in America. And so when you target a state and say that's where those people are coming from, you're missing a bastion of support in those areas. And so this is not one of those things where we get to go, oh, well, those people speak a certain way. See, we all have this program bias. My problem with the liberal folks, me being included, as you can tell by the ponytail, is that our bias comes with smugness. The bias goes both ways. Understanding where these people come from, where we come from, or how we connect. That's our job as designers. Because what do designers design for? Humans. We design for people. We solve problems. It is our unique responsibility to solve problems with design. If you're not solving problems, you're finger painting. It is a vanity project. We must design for everyone. This is not an ableist conversation or not. This is a human conversation. Design is about solving problems for people. Once we make decisions, they have positive and negative outcomes. Digital is experiencing that at a greater rate than any industry ever because it's changing how we perceive ourselves. But if digital creates silos, and those silos take us away from each other, put us together with great homogeneous thought, what then becomes of people? We are reinfected with the illness that the internet was actually starting to save. The internet's an incredible invention for showing you a world that you're not able to see or touch. When the world began to see things, we've had more civil rights movements because of social media than we've had in a long time. It took a long time for people to believe black people was people. With the advent of social media, we've had conversations about our restrooms, about our identity, about our pronouns, about our togetherness, around rape culture, around bias. And that is incredible, incredible progress because it has linked communities that were otherwise isolated and felt alone. It's elevated and given a microphone to voices that honestly were separated on purpose. That you could say, you're just crazy, you're all by yourself, don't you worry about it. We won't be making these doorways any wider, it's just you. And so our communication channels began to save us from that. But then the algorithm changed. The thing I think that's most interesting about design is it talks about our culture and what we're about, what we value, what we care about. When an archaeologist digs up a site, you can find out what people were eating, what they valued. When you look at Egypt and you look at the pyramids, you can see testaments to people who thought they were close to gods. You could see where the values lie. In the pottery, in the architecture. The stories of people are written in their design. In the language of the design, the execution of the design, and what they're designing for. So I ask you a question. What will we be remembered for? What will people look at and say, this is what they were about at this time? Will it be iPhones with great bevels? Will it be streets that cater to people of all mobility types? Think about why we're here, what we've been given, and now, with the advances, how we can make life better for others. Because that's our great responsibility as designers, to look at our identities, to think about where we come from, to understand the reason why we should work with people who are not like us is because it creates serendipitous collision. it creates solutions that we didn't know existed. Because we're solving problems that we didn't know were there. That is the responsibility of design. Thank you.